Welcome to Notes from the Edge, where we have the conversations we should have been having all along. We talk about the things that we're not talking about. I'm your host, Lacy, writer, trauma educator, executive advisor, and author of the upcoming memoir, Notes from a Certified Mad Woman. Welcome to the Edge. Welcome back to another episode of Notes from the Edge. I'm your host, Lacy, and this is the place we have the conversations we should have been having all along. Guess what? You guys aren't talking about it. So I'm going to today in this solo episode, and I'm going to say something that will undoubtedly irritate somebody on the internet. Women have it harder than men. Said. And before anybody decides this is my radical feminist manifesto, let me clear something up immediately. I love men. I have always loved men. And at certain points of my life, arguably far more than was medically advisable. If anything, my historical problem has not been insufficient enthusiasm for men. I have a great man in my life now. And I love masculinity. I love good men. I know extraordinary fathers, husbands, brothers, sons, friends, and colleagues. This episode is not an indictment of men. It is an examination of what it costs to move through this world as a woman. Because two things can be true at the same time. Men can also suffer profoundly, and women can face structural burdens specifically because they are women. Acknowledging one does not erase the other. This isn't the oppression Olympics. Nobody gets a medal at the end of our days. And I want to talk about something bigger. I sometimes call this life Earth School. And if Earth is a school, I think women signed up for far more advanced placement courses without reading the syllabus first. Because somewhere in the fine print, apparently it said, you will bleed, you will carry children, you may birth them, you will sometimes raise them by yourself. You will probably manage everybody else's emotional temperature while doing it. You will be expected to work as though you don't have children and parent as though you don't have a job. And you will need to remain attractive but not vain, sexual but not slutty, successful without being intimidating, strong without being difficult, independent but somehow still endlessly available. And eventually your hormones are going to stage a hostile takeover over your body around midlife. And there's a decent chance somebody in medicine will tell you that you're just suffering from anxiety. Welcome to Earth. Hope you packed some snacks. Religion of female self-sacrifice. There is something we teach women incredibly early. Being good means being useful. Being loved means being sacrificing. Maternal means putting yourself last over everybody, including your children. And we've romanticized this to an astonishing degree. Oh, she's such a good mother. Why? Because she hasn't slept since 2012. Everybody else got dinner before she did. She remembers dentist appointments, birthday presents, permission slips, medications, grocery lists, teachers' emails, soccer schedules, aging parents, family holidays, and the exact location of one fucking blue shirt nobody else can apparently find. But she can't find her own damn glasses. Somewhere along the way, we confused self-erasure with a woman's love. And the data actually shows that women still do substantially more domestic labor. In the latest 2025, that was just last year, folks, American Time Use Survey data said that women averaged 2.38 hours of household activities per day versus 1.58 hours for men. Women also spend more time caring for and helping for all household members. Among adults living with children under 6, women spent 3 hours a day on primary child care compared to 2 hours a day for men. Now, this is not an accusation against father, it's workload. And I think there's another workload we're only beginning to name properly because it's invisible. Who notices when the toilet paper is almost gone in your household? That would be me and mine. Who realizes the kids haven't been acting like themselves? Who knows your mother needs a birthday card next Tuesday? That's a big one for us. Who notices there's no milk or the dogs need medication or the dog food's running out? Who thinks about Christmas in October while everybody else is thinking on Christmas on December 23rd and running to Target or, I don't know, CVS to get just a card? This is not merely about doing things. It's about being the operating system for an entire family or an entire society. And here's where women participate in maintaining the system too. Some of us have been conditioned so deeply that we don't even know how to stop. We don't stop to ask, do I even want to be doing this? We ask, is everybody going to be okay if I do? Those are very different questions. And then we go to work. Now take that woman and put her in the workforce. She does not leave the invisible workload at the office door. She has to carry both. And then we tell her in the workplace, there's going to be competition, but you're never going to win. And these numbers remain stubborn. For full-time wage and salary workers in 2025, again, just last year, folks, median weekly earnings for women were $1,000 compared to $1,000 compared to $1,400 for men. Women earned 82% of men's median weekly earnings. This statistic does require nuance. It does not mean that every woman doing exactly the same job as men receives 82 cents for the identical hour of work. The gap reflects occupation, hours, industry, career interruptions, caregiving, and other factors. But that's actually part of the conversation. Why do women interrupt careers more frequently? Who usually reduces hours when somebody has to care for children? Who absorbs pregnancy and childbirth into career trajectory? Who's more likely to organize around caregiving? Motherhood itself isn't even a measurable economic consequence. Research summarized by Pew has found that career interruptions after children contribute to women's lost earning potential lifelong. So sometimes people say the wage gap isn't discriminate. Women make other choices. Okay, fair. But who built the menu they're choosing from? If somebody has to leave work at 3 because childcare ends, if somebody has to stay home because their children are sick, and if somebody has to pause their career for childbirth, if somebody has to turn down travel because family logistics don't work, those are technically choices, yes, but they do not occur in a vacuum. And here's the particularly fun part. At work, women get another impossible balancing act. You have to be confident without being aggressive, decisive without being bossy, have boundaries without being difficult, ambitious, but do not make anybody uncomfortable with your ambition because female leadership requires the precision of landing a spacecraft on Mars. Believe me, I know. I worked in the corporate arena for 30 years, man, over 3 decades. And honestly, that was accidental to support my family of 5 at that time. I was the primary financial provider for my family. And here's the part that isn't funny. I want to move into something considerably darker. Violence. I am 50 years old. 50. And in those 5 decades, I have yet to meet a woman in my own lived experience who does not have some story about being sexually violated, coerced, touched, threatened, followed, assaulted, or frightened by a man in some way. This is just my observation. There's not a national statistic, but the national statistics are horrifying enough without even exaggerating them. And these are just the reported statistics because I'm going to tell you right now, most of us don't say a thing. We toughen up, we suck it up, we man up, and we try to push through. But according to the CDC, nearly half of women have experienced some form of contact with sexual violence during their lifetime. That's more than 1 in 5 women have experienced, completed, or attempted rape. And more than 4 out of 5 female rape survivors reported that their first rape happened before the age of 25. Think about that. And think about the behaviors women consider completely ordinary. Text me when you get home. Don't walk to your car alone. Hold your keys between your fingers. Watch your drink. Don't leave it unattended. Share your location. Park under a light. Always check the back seat. Always check under the car. Pretend you're talking to somebody on the phone. Don't be too friendly. Don't get angry either. We have to teach girls risk assessment so early that eventually it stops feeling like risk assessment. It's just being a woman. And good men may not see this because good men aren't the ones causing it. And that's important. A man who would never hurt a woman may genuinely have no idea how much bandwidth women devote to assessing whether another man might. And that doesn't make him bad. It makes the experience invisible to him. And that's why we must be talking about it. And the standards for women are impossible by design. Let's talk about the body. The body. A woman's body somehow became public infrastructure projects everybody gets to review. Too fat, too thin, muscular, old, too much makeup, not enough makeup. Gray hair means she's letting herself go or getting old. Plastic surgery means she's insecure. Dress sexy and you're asking for attention. Dress conservatively and you've stopped trying. Age naturally. Get work done. For God's sakes, don't look old. And while you're doing all of this, please appear as though you're not trying very hard. That's my favorite part. Women are expected to spend enormous amounts of money, time, energy maintaining an appearance that supposedly occurred naturally while drinking lemon water. No, there are 17 products involved. And I think we need to acknowledge that women police women too. Men did not single handedly create every expectation women live under. Women enforce them as well. Mothers pass them to daughters. We judge each other's bodies. We criticize other mothers. We shame ambitious women. We gossip about sexually liberated women and sometimes become unpaid security guards for the very systems that may be hurting us individually. And that's why it isn't men versus women. Conditioning gets inside all of us. And eventually, the system teaches us to police ourselves. And then your body does what mine has done and goes through the biggest neurobiological change women will experience in their entire lifetime. We call it hot flashes and mood swings. It's menopause, folks, and we're not talking about it enough. If you're lucky enough to reach midlife, menopause will undoubtedly arrive somewhere between the ages of, I don't know. For some of us, we start early, 35, maybe 50, who knows? Good luck in those 15 years. And suddenly, the body you finally got used to knowing becomes unfamiliar. Your sleep changes, mood, body composition, sexual function, cognition, temperature regulation goes completely rogue. We go into medical offices saying, man, something's happening to me. And too often we're told it's anxiety. Or in my case, here's some Valium. You have a high risk, life threatening blood disorder. We can't treat you with anything. You're going to have to wing it. And it's anxiety. I've also considered throwing this paper gown through the window. There is no serious evidence that women's pain can be treated differently. A 2024 study examining more than 21,000 emergency department cases across 2 countries found female patients were less likely to receive pain medication than male patients, even after accounting for reported pain scores and other variables. Women's pain scores were also less likely to be recorded, and women spent longer time in emergency departments. And menopause education, please, does it even exist? A 2026 review concluded that menopause education for healthcare professionals is limited. I don't even think it's taught. Maybe they get 6 weeks of training. A 2025 survey of physicians across primary care, OBGYNs, found that 62% lack any training. on menopausal care. 62%. Half of the human population is potentially going through the biggest neurobiological change we will ever go through if we live long enough. This is not some boutique medical condition, folks. It's not something six women developed outside of Phoenix, and yet generations of women have walked into doctors' offices with insomnia, suicidal ideation. By the way, yes, suicidal ideation is linked to menopause, depression, anxiety, cognitive changes, sexual changes, physical symptoms. Mine was terrible systemic neuropathy. By the way, that's electrical shocks through your entire body. And then we wonder why midlife women say, I don't recognize myself anymore because nobody helps us connect the dots. And we certainly don't have a fucking owner's manual. But we participate in this too. I don't want women leaving this episode believing that we are powerless victims against some big giant machine because we're not. We are participating in our own condition. Every time we say yes when every cell in our body is screaming no, every time we apologize for having the word boundaries is driving me nuts. Every time we give up our energy, which is a precious, valuable resource, especially in menopause when we don't want to, every time we feel guilty for spending money on ourselves while purchasing things everybody else wants, every time we just say, oh, I'll just do it, it'll be easier. Maybe it is easier today, but you know what? 20 years of easier, I'll just do it, can become a woman who has absolutely no fucking idea who she is outside of what she does for everybody else. And that's where this becomes Notes from the Edge. Because underneath all of this question, I ask again and again, what did you perform in order to survive? For some of us, it was the good mother, easy wife, sexy girlfriend, agreeable employee, perfect daughter, caretaker, woman who can handle it all, superwoman, the woman who needs nothing, all at once for some of us, and everybody applauds our strength while we are quietly disappearing behind all these conditioned expectations. And this is not about hating men. So I'm going to return where I started. I love men. Some of my favorite humans are men. And given portions of my romantic history, I think I've provided sufficient empirical evidence of my commitment to the male population. So this isn't about hating men. It isn't even about blaming an individual man for systems they didn't personally create. And it isn't saying men don't suffer too. Men have their own brutal conditioning. Don't cry, don't be weak, provide, perform, protect, earn, handle it yourself. Pay enormous prices for these rules too. But men's suffering does not require us to pretend that women's burdens aren't more unreal. Can we not hold both of these truths at the same time? Because good men don't need women to lie about women's experiences in order to protect men's feelings. And good women, guess what? We don't need to demonize men in order to tell the truth about being a female. That's the conversation I want. Maybe women have been extraordinarily resilient, not because resilience is inherently feminine, but because women have been practicing it daily for generations. Maybe the next evolution isn't about becoming even stronger. I don't think we could. It's about questioning why strength has been demanded of us so relentlessly in the first place. Love does not require self-erasure. Motherhood does not require martyrdom. Partnership should not require servitude, and success should not require becoming palatable for everyone else while trying to claw our way to the top. Aging is certainly not a woman's expiration date. Anger is not pathology. Boy, oh boy, did I get called an angry woman. You're so angry. My goodness, I was raised in the swamps of Louisiana to fight conflict head on. And then they were surprised when I turned out to be an angry woman. Exhaustion is not a personal failure. Women underneath all of those performances deserve to meet themselves before their lives are over. Here's the question I want to leave you with. If being a good woman no longer required sacrificing yourself, what would you stop doing? And more importantly, who would you be? What did you perform in order to survive? I'm your host, Lacy. When you find the answer to that question, welcome to the edge.